Welcome, one and all, to Pacific414 episode review. I'm your host, Mike, and in tonight's episode, I'm going to be reviewing episode 4 of Hawkeye, Partners. Am I right? So, Partners, Am I Right picks up right where last week's episode, Echoes, left off, and Jack has a sword up against Clint Barnes, aka Hawkeye's throat, and we see Kate Bishop come around the corner running and try to tell Jack to, stop what he's doing because Clint's not there to do any harm. Clint's there with her, and Jack tries to play it off like, oh my God, you're one of the Avengers. And he gives him a false name, Arrow, or, some false name. I didn't really pay too much attention to it, to be perfectly honest with you. But anyways, we, cut to another scene where it's Jack, Eleanor, Kate, and Clint. And Jack and Eleanor are trying to figure out why Kate and Clint are inside their high-rise. And Kate's mom, Eleanor, checks her cell phone and sees that somebody logged into her home office computer from her laptop at the high-rise. And her mom pretty much knows that it was Kate and is trying to find out what Kate and Hawkeye are doing. And Kate's coming up with a long-winded story saying that Clint's helping her with an investigation. It's Avenger stuff. Clint says it's not Avenger stuff. And then Kate tries to tell her mother that she and Clint are friends, and Clint says, no, we're not friends. And while this whole back and forth banter between Clint and Kate and Eleanor is going on, Clint actually looks over and sees his sword where Jack placed it at. So Clint's trying to come up with a strategy on how to get his sword back. And at one point, Eleanor actually gets up and, walks with Clint to the elevator door because Eleanor is worried that maybe Kate's going to get into some trouble and possibly end up dead like Natasha. And Clint tries to reassure Eleanor that everything's going to be okay. So Clint gets into the elevator door closes, and Clint reveals that he was able to grab the sword without anybody looking, anybody noticing. So while we're also in the elevator, Clint ends up sending a text message to Laura to try to find out some more information. Try to find this Rolex that has a tracking chip on it. So we then leave from the apartment to Kate's aunt's place, and Clint's there. He's icing himself down, and he gets a call from Laura. And Laura's telling Clint everything that he was able to find. And I want to say hello to Alan Copeland. Hell to you, Alan Copeland. Good to see you here, brother. It's always good to see you. And I also want to acknowledge that Leia Rose was here earlier. Thank you very much. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you do get a chance to catch this on the replay. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming by. Really do appreciate it. I like seeing all the same familiar faces. It just, it's comforting to see everybody who I recognize, not just on my channel, but on other channels, stop by, and, we enjoy each other's content. So, and Clint and Laura, they're talking. Laura has some information, and she also has some information about the watch and where its possible location might be. So she texts Clint that information. Meanwhile, as this is going on and Kate's still over at her mother's house, Kate's mom actually gets on her cell phone and says This is serious. We're going to need your help. But we don't find out who it is. Not yet, at least. So, Jack and Eleanor and Kate, they're talking. Kate looks bored out of her mind. And Jack is, saying different quotes, all wrong. He's even saying Christmas carols all wrong. And at one point, he says to Kate that Kate's mother dances. And Kate says, no, she doesn't. So Jack and Eleanor start dancing. And, we get another shot back at Kate's aunt's place where Clint is, again, trying to find a few things out. Then Kate does eventually show up at her aunt's place, and she's got pizza. She's got bags full of ugly Christmas sweaters. She's got movies, and Clint and Kate are talking, and they're trying to go over the information that they do have, not only on, Maya and the Tracksuit Mafia, but also finding out about Jack and a few of his associates. And of course, Maya's interpreter is also brought up, Kazi, and how he's pretty much been Maya's second in command for a while, but he's also been overstepped because of the boss. So instead of being able to move up in the ranks of the criminal organization, he's been stuck at the same position for quite some time. So we find out that information, and the next thing we have is a segment between Kate and Clint is showing Kate this trick on how to flip, a coin or any cylindrical object the size of a coin and actually hit an object like the TV that they end up hitting. Kate tries it a few times, isn't able to do it. But the last time that she tries, of course, she's able to do it. So Clint and Kate are, again, going over what they need to do. And Clint brings up the live action role play. And he says that he needs to get some help from those people because one of the arrows that they have, amongst many others, is a tracking arrow, and Clint needs it. He knows it's at the police precinct, but he needs someone to be able to go in and get it for him. So Kate agrees to meet up where the LARPs are at, and they're all practicing, doing their practice training for the role play. And we meet one of the LARPs named Wendy. She's a police officer, and Kate pretty much tells her that we need you to go in and tamper with the evidence and get the arrows back, which Wendy actually does end up doing. Meanwhile, Clint is waiting for Kazi. Kazi is walking out of this warehouse and walking toward his vehicle. Inside this vehicle is Clint, and Clint says, we need to wash our hands with this whole Ronin thing. I need your help so this whole thing can be put aside and forgotten about. Of course, Kazi goes toward the glove compartment to reach for a gun. Clint reveals that he has the gun. Then Kazi goes to reach for a knife. Clint has the knife and says, you are going to work with me, whether you like it or not. This is going to be washed away. This is going to be over and done with. And he basically gives Kazi this ultimatum, do it or else. So next we see is Clint and Kate. They're on top of this roof adjacent to an apartment complex, and they're going over how they're going to get into said apartment complex, with Clint looking through binoculars and developing a strategy on how to get in. The reason why they're at this apartment complex is because it's where Maya lives. And it's also where this Rolex is at. This Rolex that has the tracking chip. So Clint wants to get it back because if he doesn't get it back, it will link, Clint and the original owner to everything else that's going on. And Clint says, we don't need that. And I don't need that. So Clint, while looking through the binoculars, is going over with Kate on what to do and saying that he's going to zip line over to the apartment building, swing in. It should only take him 3 minutes to get into the apartment and get out. And meanwhile, as he's talking about this, as he's talking about this, Kate actually ends up going down from the rooftop across the street into the apartment building where there's an older man with 2 bags of groceries going into the apartment, and she offers to help him with his groceries. So she follows the old man into the apartment complex. They go up the elevator, and while she's doing this, she's also speaking with Clint via the Bluetooth headpiece. And Clint's, saying, you're going to blow your cover. You're going to blow your cover. You shouldn't be doing this. You want it to stay on the down low. So what ends up happening then is Kate walks out of the elevator. Sorry, I was just checking a few things. But Kate walks out of the elevator, and, the old man takes his groceries back and says, I got it from here. Kate gets to the door of the apartment building and opens up the door by picking the lock. And of course, these strobe lights start going off. Kate grabs her arrows and shoots them at the strobe lights and tells Clint, there's strobe lights. What does that mean? Well, come to find out, after Kate is able to locate the Rolex, that the strobe lights are for silent alarm for the hearing impaired. And as Kate is grabbing the Rolex and she turns around, there's Maya right behind her. Meanwhile, Clint has his own trouble on the rooftop. Clint is battling somebody who's wearing a mask. He doesn't know who it is. He thinks it's Maya. It's not Maya because Kate's dealing with Maya. So when Kate gets a chance after Clint is given a small window of opportunity to shoot his zip line arrow across from the rooftop to the apartment building, he tells Kate to get on the zip line and get over there. Well, Kate does try to do that. And what ends up happening is, as Kate's trying to get over on the zip line by holding her bow and, going across like this, it stops. Why? Because of the masked assailant that's attacking Clint. It's not low enough where Kate can actually zip across from the apartment building to the roof. So after it gets low enough, and after Kate tries to jump a little bit to try to get across, which I'm thinking, now why would anybody in their right mind do that? Especially when there's a street down below, and that's a pretty good drop. But anyways, Kate gets over there and she starts helping Clint battle this masked assailant. And then Maya comes over, and it's a 2-on-2 tag team match, pretty much. So you got Clint and Kate, they're, battling Maya and this masked assailant. Kate actually pulls out this one arrow, which is a sonic boom arrow. And then, of course, what ends up happening is, because of this sonic boom arrow, everybody's having a hard time hearing because of all this loud sonic vibrations. And it also sends a shockwave too. So as they're all dealing with it, their hands are covering their ears, the masked assailant who was attacking Clint actually takes off her mask, and it is revealed that it is Yelena, from Black Widow, Natasha's sister. That's right, Natasha's sister is the one that Eleanor called earlier in the episode. And of course, Clint looks and he's in shock because undoubtedly he knows who it is. Obviously, he knows who it is. So he's in shock. Yelena manages to get away. Hello, Green Lantern. Great to see you, brother. It's always great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Oops, let me clear that. But Yelena looks at Clint. Clint looks at Yelena. There's a few moments of pause, few moments of silence, and then Yelena grapples down. Now, what I didn't mention is during the fight, at one point, Kate is knocked off the roof, but is able to be ziplined down to the ground at one point. And Clint says, "This isn't your fight. Go, leave, save yourself," because Clinton's trying to, keep his promise that he made to Kate's mother that Kate wouldn't be harmed. So, Kate lands on the ground after being, caught by a few strings of lights and ends up going back up to the rooftop to continue the fight. Well, getting back to Yelena. Yelena uses a zip line herself to propel herself down, and that's when Clint, turns around and says, "Kate, I don't want you involved in this anymore. This has gotten serious. Whoever this is has now hired a Black Widow. It has gotten far too dangerous. So for your own safety, get lost." Of course, Kate says, "No, we're partners. I'm not leaving. We're doing this together." And Hawkeye, he has that look like this is a big mistake. This is a big mistake because you don't know what you're dealing with when it comes to Black Widows. We all know from what we saw in the various, Avengers movies and, the backstory that we got with Natasha in the MCU. Of course, Natasha's backstory in the comics as well. But Kate doesn't know. So it leaves off on that note. I did see that the actress who plays Yelena will be in the next 2 episodes, and her name is Florence Pugh. So I did see that she'll be in the next 2 episodes. The actress that played Wendy is going to be in the next 2 episodes. So obviously, something's going to be up. Something's going to be up where it's still going to involve this police officer Wendy that we met that was able to help Clint and Kate get Clint's arrows back. And we also know that Florence Pugh, of course, is going to be back as Yelena. And, it'll be interesting to see what these next 2 episodes, reveal. And what kind of relationship or non-relationship that Clint ended up having. And let me go ahead and read your comment here. Yeah. I'm the same way, Green Lantern. On one hand, I'd like parts of it. I'm not gonna lie, there are parts of it I really liked, and then other parts I've had to watch it twice now, and I'm still going, why are they making this choice? Why are they making this choice that it's Yelena siding with Eleanor? And you love this episode, and I've got nothing against this episode. It's just that I have mixed feelings about some of the directions they went with, and the reveal at the end that Yelena is helping Maya and of course Eleanor out. So what's going to be interesting in these next 2 episodes is obviously Kate's mom is in on this whole thing because of Jack. So it's going to be interesting to see when or if they reveal that to Kate and how Kate's going to react. I mean, how would you react if you found out later on that, someone you held near and dear, a parent, a loved one was involved in a situation that they wouldn't be in. Well, I'm sure a lot of us would be in denial, confusion, and wonder what's going on here. And let me see. Green Lantern says, I like Jeremy in it, but I don't like the idea that he is being replaced. No. I don't like the idea either. And I've said it in my other reviews that I've already done for the series that it's obvious at the end of the series, Jeremy Renner, aka Clint Barton, Hawkeye, is going to be replaced. And of course, reading more and more about the series, it is disappointing to me. Excuse me a moment. It is disappointing to me that this wasn't given a movie like it was originally supposed to be, because I've even said it in my other two videos that this definitely should have been a movie and we definitely should have gotten Budapest. So that is a disappointment. But, here it is. I've already watched 4 episodes. There are 2 episodes left. I'm committed to those last 2 episodes because my rule when I do episode reviews, if I go past my 3 episode limit and continue on with the series, well, then guess what? It's my job to continue giving my perspective, my review, my thoughts, my opinion on each episode. So that's what I'm going to do. But I'm still curious to see what direction they're going to be going into in these next 2 episodes. Are we going to see, somebody who's on the opposing side join the other side? I don't know. It could very well happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could very well happen. You never know what Disney and Marvel and the writers have in store. And not saying it's a good idea, not saying it's a bad idea. But you never know. And Alan Copeland says Kate should be given a separate spinoff. True. She should be given a separate spinoff, but spoiler alert, it's Maya Lopez who will be getting her own spinoff in her own series called Echo. So that's going to be interesting. I watched it and that's the impression I got, that she was on the side of good, but it could also be a situation where, hey, if the money's right, I'll do this particular, do this particular hunt, do this particular job here. I don't know. That's a very interesting question. Yeah. I mean, it would be cool, Green Lantern. It really would. But again, when it comes to Disney and Marvel, they like to do things that may not be the best in our own points of view. Like I've been saying, I really strongly believe that this should have been a movie. Jeremy Renner is a strong enough actor to lead his own movie. We know Haley Steinfeld can lead her own movie. I mean, after all, I did go see Bumblebee on a $5 movie night, so I thought, you know what, for $5 I might as well check it out. And that was honestly the best live action Transformers movie that's been made. And let's see what else you guys are saying. Yeah. Oops, my bad. Exactly, Alan. You don't want to replace Clint. And you see, you did get some elements in this episode where Clint was the teacher. He was showing Kate some of his skills, and that I can appreciate. You want somebody to who's the master, to show the apprentice, this is how you do the skills. It's like Mr. Miyagi in Karate Kid. He taught Daniel everything that he knew from Karate Kid 2, and Karate Kid 3. And now you're seeing in Cobra Kai how all those lessons that Mr. Miyagi taught Daniel are being passed on to another generation. That's how you do it. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Right? Yeah. Yeah, I liked Haley Steinfeld and Bumblebee myself. But, if you're going to have a passing of the torch storyline, in my opinion, then do it right. Have it where the teacher teaches their student or apprentice all the skills that are necessary. You don't have to do it in, one full movie, give us an overload of information during one whole movie. Show it in subsequent sequels, or if it's a TV series, show it as the series progresses. You don't want to go through it all in season 1, but say this series gets multiple seasons. I'm not saying Hawkeye is going to get multiple seasons. I'm not saying it isn't, but hypothetically speaking, say this was more than 6 episodes, more than 1 season, then you have it over a period of time where Clint starts teaching Kate more and more skills that she doesn't even know. And this way, by the end of the series, fans not only look at Kate as, Clint's apprentice, but Clint's equal, because she is just as good as Clint. And along the way, Clint can learn some things from Kate that maybe he really hadn't thought about and hadn't had a lot of time to think about because of his line of work. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Yeah, have Clint, the old wise master, more stealth. Exactly, Green Lantern. That's all right, brother. That's all right. So let's see what you're saying, Alan. Thank you, brother. Thank you. One of these days, I will either do a review of Transformers, the movie, or I'll do what I did for Pop Talk last night, or maybe I have, one particular episode dedicated to Transformers, the movie. I mean, I already did that a little bit in the beginning of Pop Talk, but actually have it more like last night's, where we're going through different parts of the movie and discussing it, and why to, G1 fans, it's just one of those cult classics that you enjoy. Yes, I'm not going to lie and say it's perfect. No, it has its issues. But, go over it and say why it was such a big movie for when it came out. And, in this episode, it did touch on family. We get a flashback of Endgame when Natasha basically sacrifices herself so that they can get the stone. And, Kate even comes to find out that Clint is Ronin. And that's why Clint wants to get the suit, which he has, and why he wanted to get the sword, and why he needs to clear his name before he leaves New York, and also make sure that Kate's safe. So it had those moments. This wasn't a bad episode. It's just one of those episodes where at some points it was a little slow, but I understand why it was a little slow, because they're trying to build up toward the end. They're trying to build up toward the end of this episode. They're trying to build up to the end of the 6 episode series. So let's see. Green Lantern is saying, gee, maybe because it didn't have a weed-eating mama. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I will admit, I did like the first live action Transformers movie, and I went and saw the other live action Transformers movie because mainly they're popcorn flicks. I wasn't looking for a masterpiece. I wasn't looking for something that's, on the side of Lawrence of Arabia. No, those movies are popcorn flicks. You have to turn off your brain, but even turning off your brain with those movies, it doesn't always help. Your mind still says, what the? But yeah, this episode, if I'm going to give it a star rating, again, my star ratings are best of 5. So if I'm going to give it a star rating, I'm going to give this a 2.5, only because I have mixed feelings about it. There are parts of it that were good, parts of it that made me go, okay. And, the pacing, again, as I've already stated, I understand why they went with their pacing choice, because they're trying to give us, the layers of the story. But still, there are certain things that just I don't know. And that's fine, Alan. That's fine. 3.5. That's perfectly fine. I could watch this again and my opinion could change, because as I've done before in other videos, and you can see it in my discovery videos, that over time, my opinion of this episode, my star rating on this episode, granted in those videos, I don't have the star rating going because I'm too busy ranting and cursing and all that. But I could go back and watch this episode again and enjoy it. But my first 2 viewings of it, and after thinking about it, it's a 2.5 right now. The other 2 episodes that I've talked about, Hide and Seek and Echoes, they're still 3. They're still 3. Now, I will probably go back and watch all 6 episodes once everything's done and give my final thoughts on this series. But as of right now, it's a 2.5, Alan. I hope you're not angry about that, but understand I am probably going to go back and rewatch it and give an overall rating for the overall series. I mean, I love Jeremy Renner in this. And Green Lantern 345 says, because that's what we all wanted to see in a Transformers movie. Awkward situations. Yeah. But I did like Transformers mostly. Yeah. It had some good parts to it. And you also go to say, I'd give Bumblebee 5 stars. The rest, 3.5, 4. Yeah. I mean, getting back to Bumblebee. The best parts of that movie that I wish we could have seen a lot more of were the scenes that took place on Cybertron. I would love, but I don't think we're going to get it, but I would love for there to be a movie done in CGI like we saw in Bumblebee, but the whole movie is set on Cybertron. No humans, no Earth whatsoever. Just have the whole story take place on Cybertron. I think that would be good. And Green Lantern says 2.5. How dare you? All right, yeah, well, yeah, okay. So Greta me. How dare me? Yeah, how dare I? But like I said, I'm going to go back, watch all 6 episodes, and get my final thoughts. Yes. Yeah, never say never. That is very true, Green Lantern. Never say never. at first when I saw the trailers for Hawkeye, I was thinking, I'm not going to review that, especially since I felt, drained after watching WandaVision and then Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I needed a break from the MCU. But here I am watching the episode and then giving you guys my review, reaction, my thoughts on the episode. So, it's obviously not that bad. Yes, Alan, a lot more Cybertron. And Green Lantern goes on to say, I do hope you know that I'm giving you a hard time. Yes, I do. And that's part of the whole community, is that we give each other a hard time. As we get to know each other, we can give each other a hard time and, rib each other every now and then. But yeah, right now, Alan, right now, Green Lantern, this episode is 2.5 stars out of 5. There are just some things I didn't like, and that was Kate trying to be funny, trying to tell the jokes. It's like, no, not for a series like this, not where they're trying to find things out and trying to find out who's pulling the strings behind the scenes. No, I want it to be the serious type of action series, just like I wanted Black Widow to be a serious action spy flick, but it wasn't. That's all. I mean, a little less humor in certain scenarios, and a lot more action, a lot more seriousness. Sprinkle humor in where it's appropriate, to add some levity to the situation, but you don't need to add little jokes here and little jokes there at every single moment, which is what they're doing with Kate in the most part. Is they're having her try to be the comedy relief. And, not saying it's anything against Haley Steinfeld. It isn't. I just think this should be a little bit more serious. That's all I'm saying. Even for a comic book TV show or a comic book movie, just a little bit more on the serious side. Yeah, that's the thing. My first initial watch of The Last Jedi was immediately after it was over. I'm going, I liked it, but then it started to set in, and I went, wait a minute, I'm noticing too many issues as I think about it. And then I watched it again when it came out on home video. I'm going, oh, this movie has problems. This movie has issues. So I've only watched it twice. First at the theater, and then on home video. Now, when The Rise of Skywalker came out, I was given a movie pass. So by the time I went to see it, I was able to use the movie pass, because our theater around here doesn't allow you to use a movie pass the first week that a movie's released. So, I went in, I watched it, and I went, oh my God, what's this? This is all over the place. I'm going, wow, come on, go back to the drawing board. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Yeah, but honestly, considering what we got with the J.J. Abrams movies, Mando's not too bad. It's at least watchable. I mean, heck, I bought a few Mandalorian shirts because I liked it. I'm not saying I hate it. I like it. I am curious to see what they do, with season 3. But of course, as I've said with Common Sense America, aka the Smoking Patriot, I look at the Book of Boba Fett, and it looks like it's the Godfather in the Star Wars universe. I'm gonna make you an offer you can't refuse. And let's see what else. Yes, Yeah, so I am going to check it out, even though, like I said, I'm getting that Godfather in space type of vibe, you know? If you know what I'm talking about, boys, and I think you do. I really think you do. You get what I'm talking about here. No, no, no. I don't like the light speed skipping. I'm thinking, okay, since when did this become a thing? Come on. No, but see, I like this. I like this. We're communicating back and forth, and maybe one of these days we should do it in a live stream. What would you guys think about that? Doing an episode of Pop Talk when it's a week where I don't want to talk about pop culture news for that week, and we just talk about, you know, the Star Wars movies, the same as I'm doing with the Back to the Future trilogy right now. Which, speaking of that, part 2 of the Pop Talk talking about Back to the Future will be this Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. If any of you are interested in either coming on the panel or coming by and watching. But anyways, getting back to Hawkeye, this episode, partners, am I right? 2.5 stars. Again, I'm going to say it one last time. I am going to go back and rewatch all 6 episodes and give my final thoughts on the entire series. And who knows, by the time I do that, this episode could be a 3.5 star. It could be a 4-star episode by that time. Who knows? But I want to thank you all for coming by. And yes, it does sound good. It does sound like something we can all do because, you know, I'll admit, having the Smoking Patriot on last night and having Sci-Fi Nation on last night, it was fun. Yet we laughed after the show that here it was, we spent 3 hours on the first Back to the Future movie. But that's what's going to happen when everybody's remembering different parts of, you know, the Back to the Future trilogy. And yeah, we did mention part 2 and part 3 at certain points, but that's going to happen because those movies are timeless. They're classics. And I hope they never remake them. I hope, you know, the only Back to the Future movies we get are the original trilogy. And oh, you haven't heard my thoughts on Cobra Kai. Well, brother, then here's what I'm gonna recommend. I can even send it to you on Discord. I will send you my link to my Cobra Kai, you know, first impressions video that I did after watching the first 3 seasons, because I didn't do episode by episode. I didn't do it by season. I just did the first 3 seasons, considering I had never watched the series before. So, you know, leading up to season 3 last year, I started watching, you know, season 1 and then season 2, and then watched all of season 3 all within a weekend. And I think you'll like what I have to say about it. Yeah, but let's see. Are you Miyagi-Do? Are you Cobra Kai? Are you Eagle Fang? And Green Lantern says, say it with me, kids. Hard copies. Can't change hard copies. That is right. That is right. Buy your physical media. This way it can't be altered. I mean, when it comes to Back to the Future, I have the hard copies of part 1, part 2, and part 3. Okay, so maybe I bought the first DVD release for the 20th anniversary, then the first Blu-ray release for the 25th anniversary, and then for the 30th anniversary, I bought the Blu-ray release as a collectible that has the flux capacitor. All right, so I love Back to the Future. Here. I mean, this book right here, 30 years old. This book right here, 30 years old. So what can I say? I'm a Back to the Future nut. And anybody who went to school with me, especially in elementary school, if they're watching this video and they leave a comment, they'll tell you I was a Back to the Future nut growing up. But they're good movies. All right, Alan, you're Miyagi though. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. But anyways, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this review of Hawkeye. It was great to see you guys. Great to see Alan Copeland. Great to see Green Lantern. And let's see. Well, I'm not going to... No, that one I'm not going to highlight only because I've seen other messages like that the last few days. So... And I also want to thank Leia Rose for stopping by earlier. Thank you very much, Leia. Really appreciate it. And let's see. Well, I ended up highlighting it anyway. Huh. Yeah. I'll be honest with you, Green Lantern. I've seen the trailer for Cruella, and I've even seen the little advertisement that you get before YouTube videos, and that doesn't interest me. Yet I love the original animated film, but then I love classic animation. Thank you, Green Lantern. Thank you very much, brother. You're welcome, Alan. It's always great to see you guys. And Green Lantern, I will make sure to stop by your stream tonight, brother. Because that's what we do. We help each other out. So until next time, this has been Mike for Pacific414 episode reviews. Now, I won't be doing any sort of videos or live streams tomorrow, but I will probably, as long as he still wants me on his program, will be on Spock's Friday nights tomorrow night, playing Star Trek Online at 9, and then at 8 o'clock on Saturday, Whoopa Troopa and I will be continuing our off-season baseball discussion on the Box Score Mound Visit, and this time we'll be going over the different signings and trades and some of the latest news to come out of Major League Baseball for this week to find out whether or not the players and the owners can come to an agreement and we'll have a baseball season. So if you guys are interested in just hearing our thoughts, even if you're not a baseball fan, you're all more than welcome to come by. And then, of course, Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern, and that's 6 p.m. Eastern. I don't want somebody to think, oh, Mike's doing a stream at 6 o'clock Eastern, meaning 6 in the morning. No. I hope I don't ever decide I'm going to do one at 6 o'clock in the morning. But who knows? Maybe circumstances might dictate that I have to. Who knows? But anyways, until then, guys and gals, thank you very much. As always, it's a pleasure to see you. If you like this video, give this video a thumbs up. If you didn't like this video, give it a thumbs down. Share this video with friends. Leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the Pacific... Let me try this again. Subscribe to the Pacific414 YouTube channel. And when you do, you're now a 414. And of course, before I leave, I do want to highlight your guys' comment. Brother, I'll be there. Trust me. You'll see me in the chat. All right. I'll see you later, brother. All right. So we're gonna have the group come by, and we're gonna give you support because that's what we do. Okay. All right, I'll come by and check out your Battlefront 2 stream if you're still on after I'm done with on Spock stream, or if you're starting before that stream. Either way, I'll come by, brother. I'll come by tonight. I'll come by tomorrow. Yes. Yeah, Cruella. I don't know. My sister has watched it. She liked it, but you know, she and I have different tastes when it comes to movies. So, you know, to each their own. So until Saturday, this is Mike for Pacific414 episode review. Thank you all very much. Have yourself a great night, and as always, take care.